making sure I'm okay for my setup. We'll just wait for everybody to arrive, or if anybody's coming. I'm a little bit early. Okay. Hello, Garen. Oh, there's 3 people. Good morning, Julie, Garen. Hello. Hopefully I don't knock this over. Hello, Annette. Now I'm just going to warn you guys, it is going to be difficult for me to see the comments when I'm doing some of this stuff, but I will try to read them as we go. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock and my med reminder is going to go off. Richard, hi, how are you? Welcome. Glad you guys could come. Okay, so it is 9 o'clock, so we should get going. Happy Thursday, Richard. Happy Thursday. Hi, Sherry. Hi, everybody. Okay, so today's topic du jour is self-myofascial release or foam rolling. And many of you will have seen something similar to this. This is a soft foam roll that my dog has had a couple of goes at. And there's also rollers that look kind of more like this. This is a hollow cord. This is manufactured or made by a company called Trigger Point. And it is, hi Alistair, good morning. And it's, like I said, it's hollow. This is quite firm. The blue one is quite soft. And I use them for different things, which I'll show you during this demo. There's some that have sort of these little nubs on it to give you kind of that extra little pain, I guess, to kind of stimulate the muscles more. So use what you have if you have one, and I will show you the benefits of using both. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what fascia is. So I know if you ever gotten chicken, especially, and you have that saran wrap type stuff that's around the muscles, that's what fascia is. And it's connective tissue. It's primarily made of collagen. I'm just looking at my notes. That stabilizes, encloses, and separates the muscles and internal organs. So it surrounds everything in our bodies, basically, and it allows muscle to move freely against each other and reduces the friction. It also maintains a balance of tension and elasticity in the body. So it can contract and relax similar to muscle, and it can do that separate from muscle. And tight fascia is every bit as painful and troublesome as a tight muscle. So this is the aim of what we're doing, is to help to release and get the tension out of both the muscle and the fascia. So self-myofascial release is a type of, basically it's a self-directed deep tissue massage, and you use different tools like foam rollers. You can also use different rollers like these. These are quite firm. And then you can use, I have a specifically designed ball to do different things, but you can use a lacrosse ball. Tennis balls are okay, but they can be a little bit too soft. How much paint do you need with those? Paint, I'm not sure what you mean, Alistair. Anyway, I'll look for your comment. So how does SMR work? Ultimately, they don't really know how it works. But they do, there is a theory that basically what happens is when the pressure of the instrument, whatever you're using, is applied against the muscle, it stimulates receptors that are located in different parts of the muscles to basically override, hi John, it is self-torture. It basically overrides neural aspects of the muscle, and it causes it to contract and then relax and lengthen. And so that's one way they think it works. Mechanically, they think that the actual rolling action causes heat in the muscle, which causes the myofascia to become more gel-like or more liquid, so it makes it more pliable and easy to manipulate. So, okay, so that's what fascia is. This is what self-myofascial release is, and why would they think it works. They, like I said, they don't ultimately know. But here are some reasons why you should be doing self-myofascial release. And the big one is that it helps relieve, it helps reduce the risk of developing adhesions. So basically what happens is you get these knots in your muscles in these tight restricted areas, and it helps to alleviate that. Those are caused by the collagen binding between the different layers of muscles. And it can reduce the muscle tension that happens in groups of muscles that can restrict movement of a joint. So when adhesions bind between layers of tissues, it can cause one muscle to remain in a shortened position, and the other muscles, the antagonist muscles, to remain in a lengthened position. And it causes problems for all the other muscles that try to work in that joint. And it can cause all kinds of injuries. So it increases and allows you to have better range of motion. And that's very helpful when you do this before you exercise, so you have better range of motion. They can help restore the proper length and tension relationship of muscles. So like I was saying, a group of muscles work to move a joint, and if one muscle is tight and the others are loose, it causes imbalances. So this will help prevent that. And again, this is indicated in both self-myofascial release before exercise and afterwards. And they help reduce the soreness by, they promote recovery. So what they do is they prevent the adhesions from developing. They can prevent the collagen that's our body produces when we break down our muscles during exercise. Our body produces collagen to repair it, and it helps that collagen from developing into adhesion. So it breaks it up and smooths it out and prevents it from kind of clumping up. And the pressure from foam rolling pushes blood out and allows new blood and tissue in. And this is, especially important when we get close to areas where there are ligaments and tendons. And it's important to know that when you're going to use a foam roller in a warm-up, you only use it for a brief period of time, because overusing it can cause a desensitization of the muscle. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's get beasting yourself, Parkies. Yeah. So yeah, it can be painful. I will warn you, it can be painful. But it shouldn't be too painful, and we'll talk about that a little bit further on. And lastly, myofascial release can promote a feeling of relaxation. So a lot of people use the term light and you feel kind of rejuvenated. Some people also do a lot of screaming and crying, but it does help to, it helps to prevent adhesions from developing during the cool down process. So it's a great thing to do after exercise. And I'm going to show you a couple different, I'm going to show you 10 areas that I think you should foam roll and why you should foam roll them. And you can do this before and after exercise. Before exercise, you would do each area for a brief amount of time and with not very much pressure. After you exercise, you would focus on the groups of muscles that you worked during your workout. So if you're cycling, you would focus on your legs and your glutes. If you were doing an upper body workout or golf or hockey, you might do a whole body thing. But yeah, so and John says my glutes and piriformis. Yes, so glutes and piriformis are definitely muscles that benefit from foam rolling. So we talked about the different types of foam rollers. There's also vibrating foam rollers. They look kind of like this, but they're filled in and they have a little motor in them that vibrates. I'm going to do a live with a massage gun. I have one. I'm just taking the course. Hi, Rich. Welcome. I'm just taking the course on how to properly use that, but I will actually also be doing a live on percussive treatments for taking care of your muscles. And it's important to know that not everybody can foam roll or should foam roll. It's contraindicated if you are taking blood clotting medications, if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, obviously because you're putting pressure, you're going to put your body weight on a small area and you could cause problems if you have osteoporosis. If you're having a flare-up of your rheumatoid arthritis, you shouldn't be using it. If you are taking blood clotting medications or anything like that, if you have open wounds and fractures, obviously that's pretty self-explanatory, and advanced diabetes because of the neuropathy, the peripheral neuropathy, you can cause little bits of bruising, and you might be able to, you might cause a little bit of damage to the tissue, which can be a problem for people with diabetes. So best practices for foam rolling, really quickly. I'm trying to go as fast as I can here so I don't keep you guys all day. Roll regularly, and I won't say that you can roll too much, because I don't think you can, as long as you're doing it properly and you're not really putting too much pressure in. You're aiming for a pain that hurts so good. If it just plain hurts, then you need to back off. So if you're doing it and it's really hurting a lot, you're doing it too much, or you're causing more damage and doing more damage than you're doing good. Don't roll your lower back. That is can cause the muscles to go into spasm. Stick to bigger muscular areas like your glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves, your upper back, including your lats. You can also do your groin, your IT band, which I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. And always start at a minimal pressure and work your way up to a more intense pressure, especially if you're new to foam rolling. You want to do this consistently, so you don't want to wreck it for yourself. And it does hurt, and a lot of people talk about that. It can be painful, but it shouldn't hurt. It shouldn't just plain hurt. It should feel that, like, oh, it hurts, but it feels good hurt. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit off right now. As you can see, my hands are shaky. So we're going to talk about the different areas that you should foam roll. Now, like I said, you can do this before you're going to work out, and I'm going to show you a couple of the areas that I think everybody should foam roll, but you can pick and choose what you're going to foam roll before you exercise to promote better range of motion while you're exercising. So, for example, if you're going to play hockey, you're doing a lot of this kind of movement. I mean, it's a full body activity, so you might want to roll the big areas as your warm up. Afterwards, you'd want to focus on areas like maybe your lats, your glutes and hamstrings. If you're a runner, you want to focus on your lower body. Yeah, it hurts so good. That's right, John. That's a good song. I should listen to that. So before you can do this a total body routine, it doesn't have to take very long. Light pressure. Afterwards, focus on areas that you've worked, and that should be a part of your workout routine. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is feet. So you can use a little ball like this. Now, this is a trigger point therapy ball. It's quite firm in the core, but it's got kind of a padded layer on the outside. I would say if you can't get something specifically designed for massage rolling out, and there are different products available online on Amazon that are good, then I would recommend using a lacrosse ball. A tennis ball can be a little bit too soft. So for rolling out the feet, basically it's important to know that what we're rolling out is technically the plantar fascia, which is the Achilles tendon. It's continuous and it runs all the way up up the back of our leg. And because we are always on our feet, and the feet are the foundation for our body, I think it's important that you roll out your feet as often as you can. If you're someone who's a runner, as you know, Margaret is a runner, but there's lots of runners. A lot of runners deal with plantar fasciitis and tight calves. So start with your feet. And how you would do that, I'm just gonna get myself into position here. You have to bear with me. Okay, so I have a chair, and just take off your shoe, obviously. Okay, so you put the ball down, and you want to apply basically the weight of your leg, and you just roll back and forth, and you want to focus on getting the entirety of the bottom of your foot as close as you can to the edges. And you can apply a little bit of pressure with your arm if you want, or you can just back off and just use the weight of your leg. You can push down with your hands. Hi, George. So what you're doing is you're focusing on rolling out the plantar aspect of the foot. So the whole base of your foot. I'm going to make hair all over my socks. And this will help start to relieve tension. If you think of the body, if you think of the different, basically the parts of your body, the foot is linked to the calf, is linked to the thigh, is linked to the pelvis, is linked to the torso. These are all links in a chain, right? And the joints are what join them. If you have one tight link, it's going to affect the rest of the chain. And it starts at either end. And the feet, you know, our feet are the foundation of our body. So if that link is tight, starting at the plantar fascia, that's going to affect the whole rest of the chain. So rolling out your feet takes, you can do that when you're getting ready in the morning, when you're having your coffee at the table. Just roll out your feet and give yourself a good start today. Get everything loosened off, you know, starting at the foot. So rolling out the feet is important. The other thing that I want to show you sort of separately is the TFL, and that's the tensor fascia latae. And that is this little sucker that lives right in here. It's kind of in this little spot right in here. And it's a long, you can palpate it by feeling your pelvic bone right here. And then slowly move down and outside till you feel a ropey muscle about the width of a finger right in here. Roll that little mother. If you have knee problems or any kind of problems with your like your legs, especially like the front of your legs or in your hip, if that guy is tight, it can wreak havoc. So rolling out your TFL is important. And this, you can do this again if, you know, just separate from the routine. It doesn't have to happen as part of the little routine I'm going to show you, but I wanted to make sure I showed you this one separately. So to roll the TFL out, I'm going to have to move the camera here. I'm going to show you from the side. Sorry, I'm a camera crew of one here. Okay, so hopefully you can see me. Okay, so it's right in this area, right below the hip, the hip bone. Did I say pelvic bone? Below the hip bone. So you get your foam roller. Hope you can see me. I'm gonna have to move the comments out of the way. Okay. So you lower yourself onto the foam roller, find the spot, and you'll know when you hit it. Is that gonna stay? Sorry, my arm's in the way. And then kind of angle forward, and using your knees and your elbows, you just kind of roll back and forth, and you can roll across and up and down. It's only about 4 inches long, this little muscle. But when you are on it, especially the first time, you're going to know it. So that's a really important one to roll out. And again, it should be a pain that hurts so good, not just plain hurts. If it's really painful, back off. And how you can back off is by just putting more weight on your hands and your knees and just putting enough pressure on that to give it a little bit of a release. If it's painful, if you find a trigger point or a knot, just hold still, allow your body to sink into the foam roller that you're using a little bit, take some deep breaths and hold it for 30 seconds. It should only take you 30 seconds to a minute to roll these out, and if you find that they're tight, you should roll these out every day for at least a week, if not 2 weeks, and keep them nice and loose and limber, because they affect basically the whole front of your legs. So the feet and the TFL are two really important ones to roll out. The next ones that I think are important are the calves, because they're connected to the feet and they're the next link in that chain I was talking about. So calves are pretty easy to roll out. I'm just gonna put the camera down again. So I'm using quite a firm foam roller. And I think that that's the best for using on things like the calves. I find that this one here, this blue foam, I don't know if you can see this here, it's quite soft, and I think it's okay to use that in the beginning, but it's quite hard to, because it flattens as you're rolling on it, it's quite difficult to use. So something like this or a firm foam, oftentimes they're black. You can look for them on Amazon, and I will post links in the comments below afterwards. So we're gonna roll our calves. So calves are important to think of in two different zones. There's kind of the upper zone and the lower zone. So if you divide your calf roughly in half, you'd roll out the lower zone first. You'd roll out the medial aspect, so the middle of the back of your calf, then the lateral aspect, which is to the outside of the calf, and then the medial aspect. And this, you'll see, I'll show you in a second how to do that. It's also important that you do not roll into the knee joint or in, like right on the ankle joint. So you stop just above and below those joints. So we'll roll out the lower half first. And obviously whatever I do on one side, I do on the other side. So again, if you're going to do this before exercise, it should be a lighter pressure roll and for a short period of time. If you've just done something like if you've just gone for a run or a hike, then you would want to spend a little bit more time rolling this area out. So to roll the calf out, I'm just going to move this down a bit here. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we're going to roll the bottom half out first. So you put the foam roller halfway in the middle of the zone you're going to roll. You're going to apply pressure. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you this part of my body first, is you're going to use your hands to just kind of scoot your bum. So you're going to rock back and forth this way. And then you're going to apply pressure, additional pressure, by putting the other leg over top, and you're just going to roll back and forth. Should be an inch or so at a time. You're going to go down to the bottom part and then roll your way back up. Now if you can't hold your body weight up on your wrist, which I know a lot of people can't, that can be quite painful. All you have to do is just roll from the knee. So you could just move your leg like this. Move this back. There we go. So you could go like this way, put pressure on it with your other leg. But I like lots of pressure, so I'm going to roll it this way. Now we're going to roll, we've rolled the medial aspect, now we're going to roll laterally. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate on my hips. I'm going to rotate my hips this way, and I'm going to apply pressure with my other leg. Okay, so now I'm going to roll the outside part, and I'm moving my ankle around a little bit to come at it from different angles. Then I'd roll my hips the other way and roll the medial aspect. Okay, okay, there's a spot. Now I found a spot. So what I'm going to do is just let my body sink into the roller. I'm going to stay still, and I'm going to take some deep breaths. And I would hold that for 20 to 30 seconds just to see if I can get that point to release. And then we'll move up to the upper half of the calf. So same idea. I'm just going to roll the medial aspect. Oh, there's a big lump in there. And then I'm going to the middle of the calf, the posterior of the calf, the lateral aspect, and then the medial aspect. And I'm going back and forth. I can also do it this way. I can do both at the same time. If putting one leg on top of the other is too much pressure, you can put both legs on and just lift yourself up a little bit and roll back and forth this way. Okay, so that is the calf. I'm just gonna bring the comments. Hi guys, sorry I haven't been having the comments on so I could see myself in the camera. Walking helps with force. Yeah, walking would help because you're warming the muscles up. This is something that you can do as self-myofascial release is something that you do as part of your warm-up prior to exercising. There's a bunch of different things that you can do to create what's called a more dynamic warm-up. And myofascial release is one of those things, and it will help increase range of motion, which will allow you to express your movements more fully. So if you're a runner and you release your calves and your feet before you run, it's going to allow your foot to roll through its gait more effectively. You're going to push off a little easier. You're going to be looser and warmer, and it's just going to make your run go a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing we can roll out is we're going to work our way up the back, the posterior chain. So the next thing we're going to roll out is the hamstrings. So that's the back of the thigh. Now you can use this. This is an effective tool, And this is oftentimes what most people have is something like this. A shorter one like this is easier to use because you're going to only put one leg on the foam roller. Okay, so to do your hamstrings, you tuck it up underneath your back of your leg, and you can use your other leg and your hands to roll out this way. And if you're doing this as a warm-up, you can just get in there and start rolling around. You can start at the bottom and work your way up. I'm trying to be mindful of where my body is in relation to the camera. And when you're doing this, you can dorsiflex, so point your toes and flex your foot this way to come at the, to kind of create length and tension in the muscle. And you can also roll back and forth to get some cross fiber action, or you can even roll this way. And that helps to kind of give some friction across the different layers of muscle and loosen things up. But again, if it's painful, back off. It should hurt in a good way. It shouldn't hurt and just be plain painful. So that's rolling out your ham. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, and then the next thing we would roll out would be the IT band. This one hurts. Actually, let's do our quads first. So to do quads, I'm going to show you from up here first. I guess I should stop and say if anybody has any questions about what's happened so far or what I'm doing so far, or any comments that they want to make. Definitely make a comment. So we'll keep going. So I'm going to do my my quad, because IT band one's going to be this one can be quite sensitive. So again, if you find a really sore point or you find this really painful, make sure you hold your body weight on your hands and your knees and your feet, and it should hurt in a good way, not too deeply, but it does hurt. Okay, so the leg you're rolling out is going to be this leg. You want to give yourself space, so you put the edge of the roller in between your legs like this, because you're going to balance on this leg. Oh, there's my foot going. Okay, so I'm going to stretch my leg out a little bit, and I'm going to tuck it down closer to my knee as I move into position. And you can see I've got my other leg out kind of like a kickstand. I'm on my knee, I'm on my elbows this way, or I'm up on my hands like this. Let's see if I can show you from the side. Okay, so here it is from the side. Okay. So I'm going to get down into position. Hopefully you can see. And I'm just going to roll back and forth. Now I'm up quite high, and I don't have a lot of pressure. I'm going to do legs. I'm going to do a leg day here in a bit, so I don't want to put too much pressure on that. But when you're doing this, you can sort of feel some little ropey. You'll feel it kind of rolling over little bumps and lumps. So make sure if you feel that, you take a second and stop and just allow your leg to relax, and try to work those trigger points out. So let's roll this out. So I'm going to go lightly. The other thing you can do is you can bring your heel up to your bum, and that just lengthens and shortens the muscles, and it's like a pin and stretch. You want to come up just to below your joint. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll this up really quickly. Okay, now you can either go outside to the IT band, or you can go inside to the groin. This one's going to be difficult to show you as well, and I find this one quite difficult to do. I don't roll out my groin that time. Yeah, hi Conrad. It should hurt, but it shouldn't hurt too much. So to roll out your groin, you're going to get down into a kind of a prone position, and this time the leg that you're going to roll out is going to come out to the side. You're going to put the foam roller, there it is, there's a spot right there, and you can roll back and forth this way. You just kind of It's hard to see. I'm just kind of rolling my hips back and forth. And then if I want to change position, you just kind of have to kind of move yourself over. It's kind of an awkward thing to do, and I can't really explain the technique because it's going to be different for everybody. You're trying to basically roll out the inside of your thigh. And again, watch out for the bits as you get into the middle, guys. And if you feel any numbness or tingling in the extremity that you're rolling, stop, because you're on a vein or artery. So just make sure that you are mindful of that. So that, oh, that's a bit great. Okay, so I found a spot. So I'm just gonna try to let the leg relax. Take a deep breath. Whose idea was this anyway? Okay, so that's the groin. Oh, yes, the adductors. Oh, those little bastards. Okay, now we're gonna do the IT band. Now, I'm not a huge fan of rolling right on the IT band. I like to kind of roll just a little bit in front of it. It's a band of hard tissue, it's a band of tissue that is strong enough to pull a truck. I don't think that foam rolling is really gonna have much impact, but you can roll the muscles out around it and warm them up, which will have an impact on how tight the IT band is. So same kind of idea. This time we're gonna put we're gonna angle our hips. I'm gonna roll out my right leg. So I'm just gonna get down on the side. Now I've got, hopefully you can see, I need to get a camera crew. So I've got one foot out like a kickstand, and I'm gonna just get on my side, and I'm using my arms to hold me, and I'm just gonna roll down the outside of my leg. Again, gentle pressure, moving down an inch at a time, and I'm using my upper body to support myself. You can kind of roll around this way as well, and when you find that spot, just hold it for a sec. Deep breaths all the way down. Let's stay right there, okay? I'm definitely gonna have to spend some more time on that. Okay, so that's the legs. Now we're gonna do the glutes. And this is a really good one for everybody. Okay, so glutes are pretty easy. Put the foam roller down. And you just sit on it to start. I'm gonna roll this one out first. So you're trying to get at the area where your glute max meat and min are and your piriformis. So it's kind of the pocket of your bum cheek, right? The part that kind of dips in if you're skinny. So you angle your hips over until you feel it on that sort of flat part. And then I like to take the leg that I'm working and cross it over the knee of my other leg, and then you just roll gently back and forth. And you're trying to get as much of the area as you can. Now this is how you could do a warm-up with a foam roller. You can also put it straight out. You can bring it up and move the leg that you're rolling out the glute on and move it around so that you open up the joint from different angles and allow the roller to get at it from different, come at it from different angles. You can come up right to the top and just hold it there. And I'm moving my leg around, rotating it. I'm not moving on the roller. Now I'm just moving my leg, and I can definitely, there's a spot right there. Now the other tool you can use for your glutes. So if I was warming up, I would use the foam roller. Now if I have issues other than piriformis syndrome, I would use this. This little bastard's gonna hurt. It's my dog scratching at the door. Okay, so how, again, put this on the ground and you tuck it under into that pocket in your bum cheek where your jeans pocket will sit, and then you get kind of into a crab walk position, and you just use your hips and your feet and your hands to move your pelvic area around, roll around like you're hula hooping, and you can sort of feel all the different little insertion points and attachments. You roll over different structures in there. Again, gentle pressure, and If you feel any numbness or tingling, definitely back off of that area immediately. Now, if you have tight muscles, that's one thing, but if you have piriformis syndrome, which is a condition where the piriformis muscle is inflamed and it's putting pressure on the sciatic nerve, I would really strongly encourage you to not use this. You could use a foam roller and apply some gentle pressure, but by gouging out an already inflamed and spasming muscle, I think you are just adding fuel to that fire. If you find that using a foam roller adds a little bit of relief, that's fine, but I don't agree with using a smaller point of contact and really getting in there, because I think that that's just going to make it worse. But definitely you can foam roll the area. And you also need to talk to a physician or your healthcare specialist about foam rolling if you have sciatica from disc issues in your back. I am not qualified to comment on that. So the glutes, again, that's really important. That's another really big one for people. A lot of us have sort of dead butt syndrome from sitting on our butts all day, and foam rolling your glutes prior to exercise will kind of help to create that mind muscle connection and wake them up a little bit, get your brain thinking about them. So that is the lower part of the body. Now we're going to work on the upper part of the body, and we do not roll out the lower back. That will cause muscles to go into spasm, and we don't have the strength to have the foam roller under our back and hold our upper body in a position that would be safe. So we don't roll out the lower back. We roll out from the thoracic, the mid back, and upwards. So I think about kind of where a woman's bra strap would sit. You want to roll from about that spot and upwards from there. So the upper back is great for, well, I mean, this is all great for people who are living. If you're living, foam rolling is good. But if you have, if you work at a computer, you know, we hold lots of stress and tension in our upper back. And it's just a great way to get you prepared for exercise. So this one, again, I'm gonna have to mess with the camera angle. So I'm gonna put the roller down at where I think I'm gonna land on my mid back, and you can adjust this as you get into position. So I'm at about the middle of my back. Now what I'm gonna do is use my feet, and so I'm gonna have to engage my lower posterior chain to lift me up. You don't want to, you wanna make sure that you don't flare your ribs, so you don't arch your back. You wanna make sure that you keep your core tight. You're gonna use your feet to kind of just lift your bum up off the ground, maybe a half an inch or an inch. And then I'm gonna put my head up because I want you to be able to see. Okay, so I'm just gonna start by rolling this way. And I'm not doing anything different with my arms. I'm just using my feet and my legs to roll myself back and forth. You can also put your hands behind your head to support your neck in kind of a flat position. And then as you roll up, it kind of hits the scapula and the traps and the erector spinae at the top. Roll right up to the base of the neck. You can also give yourself a hug. And what that does is that pulls the scapula away from the midline, and it exposes the lower traps a little bit more. So give yourself a little hug, and then you can get those muscles a little bit easier. Ooh, feels good. And then the other way I like to support my head is I kind of put my hands together, and I make like a little scoop, and I just hold the top of my head, and I'm making sure my spine is in a neutral position. I'm not reefing my head forward. I'm just gently supporting my head, and my arms are in a upward position. Again, my scapula are pushed outwards, so I've opened up the mid back, and I'm able to roll out the lower traps. And I just roll back and forth this way, and I'm supporting my neck. I hope you can hear me. And ooh, something popped. And just roll gently back and forth. Back down, back up. You don't want to go much below the thoracic region of the back, because again, it would cause the lower back to go into spasm. Johnny, it can help with back pain, especially, but you need to know what's causing your back pain first. That's kind of too general of a question. We need to know what the problem is. So hi Carol, thanks for joining me. Now we're gonna roll out the lats. Conrad, have you ever rolled your lats out? It does feel good, Sherry. It actually does. It's very relaxing. It's really good. You know, it relieves tension from sitting at a computer, working at computers. It really, you know, we hold our stress in our shoulders, and, you know, we get these we hunch up and tighten up. It helps to just relieve the pressure and lengthen things out again. So now we're going to roll out our lats. So the lats are the muscles that run down along the back side of the torso. And we're going to aim for right behind the axilla, the armpit. There's a little divot back there. You can feel it. It's right back in here. That's where we want to start. So you put the roller down on the floor. And I'm going to keep my hood up. Okay, so I've got the roller on the floor. I'm going to lay down with my armpit on it, and I'm going to angle my body. Oh, there it is. Up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to angle my chest up towards the ceiling. I've just got my knees kind of up like this to support myself, so that I'm able to control the pressure ooh, found the spot. I want to control the pressure. So this is I'm sorry, this is painful. This is a good painful. This is a really good trigger point to hit for people with Parkinson's, especially if you've had frozen shoulder and you have issues with range of motion in your shoulder. You don't even have to roll back like up and down with the roller. You can just sit with your body weight on that spot. You can straighten your arm up. You can move your arm around, bring it down, experimenting with different angles coming at it. Just by moving the joint, just by moving your extremity, changes the position of the muscle, and that is enough to cause like a cross-frictional action on the massage roller, and that's enough to cause a mechanical action that will help to release the tension and to liquefy the fascia. You can just hold your head like this, put your hand, and you can roll like front to back. So I have kind of more on the back side of this, where I believe I can't remember what those ones are called. There's little tiny muscles back there, like in the rotator cuff area, that are responsible for rotating the shoulder outwards. I can't remember what that is right now. And someone remind me. And they can get quite tight, and they can also be underused with frozen shoulder. I know that mine don't work very well, Garen. That's exactly what I'm suffering with. Muscles in my shoulders give me pain. So Garen, whereabouts in your shoulders? Like this is kind of gonna affect the range of motion of my arm. I have issues with my left side, so I really should be doing my left side. But and then you can come forward and you can actually rest in the axilla, and you can just move your arm around this way and up and back, and you can feel in there's all the muscles, it's the insertion points for the delts and the lats and all the muscles of the shoulders. Now, you can use a foam roller to work your way into the pectoral area. It's a little more difficult for us ladies because we have some features that get in the way, but you can, I'll see if I can show you, get the foam roller underneath there, and you can get it on your pecs. So you lay across, and oh, this is kind of hard. You kind of just lay, I'll sit up and show you. So you could lay the roller in this kind of position and then try to roll it back and forth. But that's where having something like this comes in handy. And this makes it a lot easier to, oh, my hair is doing some interesting things. It makes it a lot easier to roll out and loosen off the pec major and the pec minor and the upper part of the front of the shoulder. So we're gonna work on this arm. So I was rolling out under here, and you can even use this little guy to roll out the axilla and this part, the back part of the shoulder. You could do this against a wall and just hold it in there, but you can also roll out your pecs, right? Your pecs kind of stretch across this way like a fan. And I was right in the armpit, Sherry, kind of not in the pit, in the deep part of the pit, but up here, kind of a little bit around in here. I don't use the foam roller very much in that area, but more on the back side. You can feel that little divot behind the axilla. That's the area that I'm aiming for. And then you can also go a little bit down inferior to that and roll sort of the outside aspect of the scapula, right? Because that's your scapula right there, that bony structure. So to use the ball to roll out your pecs, I hold my shoulder up, or you can support it on something like a table or a bench, and you just use the opposite hand, or you can use both hands and just roll kind of gently back and forth. You can start right from the midline and applying a kind of a gentle pressure. I like to put a little kind of roll on it. It helps the ball move a little bit easier, back and forth, and then move it down. So Gary, you've had a cortisone injection. Oh, hi Patrick. So did you actually have a tear in your shoulder, Garen? You might want to talk to a physiotherapist about what you can do to, if this is appropriate for you. So you can roll out the shoulder, or sorry, your pecs. You can kind of move up a little bit in here and just below the clavicle. I know it's hard to see because I got a black shirt on. And I mean, I'm right-handed, so it's easier to do it this way. I just like to use sort of medium pressure and then experiment with the angle of your shoulder. So as you roll with your one hand, you can move the arm around, so you can come at it changes the length and direction of the muscle fibers. So it allows the massage tool to kind of come at it from different angles. And that's how to do the pecs and the lats. Now, there are some other things that you can do with this. I don't want to take up too much more of anybody's time. I've already been on here for 45 minutes. But that's basically all of the different areas that I think you should foam roll. Now, if you want a quick routine to follow, you can use as a warm-up and a cool-down. In a warm-up, you would spend 30 seconds per area, maximum per side. So a minute, maybe 15 seconds per side. So 30 seconds per length in the chain. So what I would do is I'll show you one more move after this too. I would start off with the calves. So roll out the calves, you would start this routine with your glutes. So you'd roll out your glutes for 30 seconds per side. So right, left glute, 30 seconds per side. And light pressure, I'm using the foam roller. I would do one side for 30 seconds, just real light pressure coming at it, kind of focusing on getting the whole area. Then I'd do the other side, 30 seconds. Then I would start with calves. So spend 30 seconds rolling out the calves. You could do both at the same time just by putting your calves on the foam roller together and just roll out this way. Hopefully you guys can see that. Can't. Okay, and then I would work up and quickly do the hamstrings. Like this. I've got both my legs on. I'm just doing a real gentle pressure. Then I would roll over real quickly, do my quads, do the TFL. Then I would do my upper back and my lats, and that should take no more than 5 minutes. Like I said, I don't really use the foam roller to do my pecs. I find it too difficult. I use something like this, but you can also just do some simple stretches to get the pecs. One thing that you can do to really see the benefits in your shoulder is to, in the mirror, before you roll out your lats, check your range of motion. So you'd want to look at how high you can raise your arms up this way, then roll out your lats and then compare and see if you can feel a difference. And I think you'll be amazed. The last thing I want to show you before I go is a really good stretch that you can do. You can't do this one too much. You could do this all the time, and it's perfect for people with Parkinson's because we are wanting to curl up and roll forward. It's perfect for people who work at a computer desk all day because you're working in this position with your shoulders rotated in and down. You're hunched over, you are shortening your pecs, and these muscles are stretching out and becoming lengthened, so they are weakening. These are becoming shortened and tightened. And this one is excellent for releasing and opening the chest, which we need to do because you want to stay open and upright. You want to have your shoulders back and down. You want to have your chin up, and you want to have, you want to be open in here so your lungs function properly, so you can take in proper breaths. So for this one though, you do need a longer foam roller, and I've got this soft blue one. The firmness doesn't really matter because you're not really rolling on it. You're just going to use it to support yourself, but the length does matter. And this is about the length of my torso, right? So it needs to be at least that long. So you lay the foam roller on the ground, and this is something that you can do at bedtime, and you want to line it up and sit on it right at the edge. Put your tailbone, so right between your butt cheeks. Okay, and I'm gonna pick this up. Hopefully this will work. And what I'm gonna do is I've got my legs out supporting me to either side, and you're just gonna lay back, making sure that your spine lines up with the roller, and you're using your core to lower yourself down. And now I'm laying on the length of the roller, and you can see, so what it's doing is it's just supporting me down the middle, and then what you do is you just let your arms melt out to the side, and you can see that it's going to create a nice opening and a nice stretch through the chest area. It's going to allow the shoulders to separate from, it's going to create space in here where the pecs insert onto the shoulder. And it's going to open up your whole front and allow the back to relax and not be so stretched out. And you can stay in this position for as long as you can tolerate it. Experiment with different angles on your arms. I can't get my left arm to lay down when it's up too high. I'm really tight right here. So you can just rest your arms down by your side. You can put pillows underneath your arms. And focus on deep breaths and just relax and just allow your shoulders to melt away from each other. And it feels so good. It's such a good stretch to do, and it's so beneficial. So that was my lifting too many plates spirit. That's what hurt your shoulder. Oh, I feel sorry for you. Oh, Georgia, I'm glad you like this. So, you've had a sports massage and you keep stretching next to it, just more painful and worse. So, Garen, have you been to see a doctor about this? Maybe if you want to send me a private message and explain it a little bit more in detail, but it sounds like you've got something serious going on, but I don't know what part of your shoulder is a problem. I had frozen shoulder, and as a result of that, I have residual damage, I guess you can say. My upper traps, this kind of muscle up here, you know that like when bodybuilders get really big, they get like no neck look. Well, this muscle takes over and does a lot of the work, and it's pushing and creating, it's taking up space that it's not supposed to. And this shoulder is rotated forward and rounded, and so I have a hard time with a lot of different things because my muscles aren't in the right position. So I know, and it's painful, and I can appreciate what it feels like to have a sore shoulder. And you use your shoulders all the time, right? Look at my hair. So does anybody have any questions? I like I said at the beginning of the video, I know that some of you weren't here for that. I am doing an online course on Hyper Ice, which is a percussive massage gun. And yes, John, I am a huge fan of IMS. I believe that it's such a benefit. John is talking about intramuscular stimulation, or dry needling. And it is the use of, what is it called? Physios can do it. Acupuncture needles. And basically it's kind of the same principle. Is it's putting they put the needle into the belly of the muscle, and it stimulates a response from the muscle where it tightens up, and then it lengthens and relaxes. And it's so, I respond really well to IMS. Some people don't. But yes, if you're having problems, you might try IMS. It's called dry needling, and Garen, that might be an option for you. And Rich, I think you asked how I can get up off the floor. How do you get from a standing position to the floor without hurting your back? That's not really an issue for me, but you could use a chair and just, I would go down on one knee like you're gonna propose, and then come down on the other knee, and then get down into a prone position, and then roll over to a supine position. You have a foam roller. Richard, which one do you have? Acupuncture on steroids? Yes, IMS, if it is available to you and you are having problems, definitely it's something that you should investigate. Garen, again, that might be something that would work for you. Foam rolling is, I mean, let's face it, we're all getting a little older, but with rigidity and tremors, which can cause, sore muscles, foam rolling is an excellent way to release the tension that we hold in those muscles. It's a great warm-up. You can do this in the morning before you get out, try to get going for your day. Do this before you exercise, do this after you exercise, do this at the end of your day. Again, it shouldn't hurt. It should hurt in a good way, but if it just plain hurts, then you need to back off. And if anybody has any questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments below. And yeah, I've had a good time doing this, you guys. I think that foam rolling is a great tool to use to keep us limber and feeling healthy and being able to move more freely. And I was supposed to do a clinic on this at the gym I was working at prior to it closing with the COVID-19 crisis. So I've been antsy to share my information, share my knowledge. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And I am working on, I'll be working on a presentation to use a massage gun or percussive therapy. I might also invest in a Hyperice, a little massage ball. So it's something like this, but it vibrates, and oh, they are good. They're expensive, but they're good. And if anybody has any topics that they want me to discuss or talk about, definitely, send me a message or leave a comment. Yeah, Sarah King's really good. She's got lots of good routines. There's tons of yoga stretching videos. YouTube is an excellent resource, but Sarah is really good. She's got lots of good information. And she also she understands about Parkinson's disease. So her focus is on helping people with Parkinson's. So I think that you might find that beneficial. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, I think I'm gonna have to say goodbye and say have a great day. I hope that wherever you're at, you're staying healthy and safe. Make sure that you take your medications and you drink your water and stay hydrated, and you move your body and look out for each other. Okay, have a great day.